Welcome to Literary AF Podcast.
Oi, welcome. Sorry. Welcome to the Literary AF Podcast. My name is Sheldon,
I'm Danny.
and we're here to talk to you about books.
Books.
So, Danny, what are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about a series of books that I've been reading. I've been trying to read through the entire series. It's part of my New Year's resolution.
Okay.
It's called The Immortals After Dark, which is written by Cressley Cole. There are 18 books in the series, and I just finished book 6 yesterday.
Great. So the way we thought of this is because there's 18, 6 divides by 18 3 times, so we could do a 3-parter.
Yeah.
So next week you're going to be ready to do part 2, right? You're
No.
gonna read 6 more books?
When I'm done book 12, we will do another episode about those 6 books.
Perfect.
That's not going to be next week.
Okay, so 2 weeks. No. But so for today, we're going to try the wonderful experiment of seeing if we can do an episode on 6 different books at the same time.
Yes.
But they're all from the same series.
They're all from the same series. They're all related to each other.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do like some quick summaries of what each book is about, and then we'll maybe talk about characters.
Okay, and I haven't read any of these books before.
Yes.
So I'm going to be like the audience and learning.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a chance the audience has probably read them and I haven't.
It is possible. Yeah, they're a fairly popular series.
I am less than useful.
Chime in with questions whenever you have them, because I'll try to answer them. It's been a couple months or a year since I read the first book, so
Okay.
a little bit rusty on the older stuff, but...
Great. All right, well, let's get going on your plot summaries then.
For sure. So, well, first off, The Immortals After Dark takes place in a modern-day setting.
Okay.
In this setting, there's immortals. They're called the Lore, and they live side by side with humans, I guess. They have their own society, and there's different races and factions. And one of the driving plots for the series is the Accession, and the Accession happens every 500 years or so.
Okay.
Which there's usually good side and bad side, and they usually come to a head every 500 years or so, and it's kind of like a way for the immortals to, I guess, call their numbers.
Okay, so what is accession? How do you spell that?
Accession.
Oh, so it's kind of like access,
Accession,
I guess? Okay.
yeah. So that's kind of like, it's like a way to dwindle the numbers, because obviously they're immortal. They're not going to die through natural means, so the population will just continue to grow. So this is kind of like a way to keep population in check.
Do the immortals have babies, or do they?
Yes.
They spread by biting, or how does it work?
They usually by babies.
Okay.
Vampires can turn other people into vampires. Not human females though. Females, there are no female vampires.
Really?
Yeah. So that's kind of, it comes up at some points, but they can't turn human females into vampires. It never works.
Wait, is this smut of a certain variety, of a certain sexual orientation?
No.
Okay.
No.
If this is gay smut, that is the perfect plot device just to make it work.
No. These are all heterosexual romances except for one book.
Oh, okay.
Which is way further down the line. It's book 17 or something. It's actually the first book in the series that I had read. And I read it and I liked so much that I went all the way back to the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So, heterosexual romances for the most part.
Okay.
Vampires can turn humans. There's 2 factions of vampires. There's the Horde, which are vampires that drink blood from other immortals and from humans. And with vampires, when you drink and drain the blood and you kill them, you inherit that person's memories.
Okay.
And if they do it too many times, they kind of go crazy.
Okay.
Because they have all these different memories and thoughts and things going on in their head. So the evil, air quotes around evil, faction of vampires, the Horde, are all blood drinkers.
Okay.
And they have red eyes and they're insane. And there's also the forebearers.
Okay.
Which are the good vampires. They don't drink from the vein.
Mm-hmm.
They drink they can drink from their mates, and they can drink from blood bags and stuff like that.
So you've got the Cullens and the
and the other vampires.
Tolly or whatever they're called.
I don't even remember. Yeah.
Italian vampires are in that book.
There's also got the vampires. There's the Lycae, which are the werewolves.
Yep.
Which are a Scottish clan So all of these like super huge, attractive dudes with thick Scottish accents. It's pretty great. Let's see. Then there's the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie play a huge part, at least in the beginning 6 books. Um, they come off as like they're all women, of course. They're Valkyrie, and they come off as like almost like a sorority group.
Okay.
They're all like really hot, really young, super focused on pop culture and going out partying and stuff like that. They're also extremely strong.
Okay.
And that I kind of really like that aspect of it, because usually when you have like hyper feminine ladies, they're weak or they need saving of some sort, and then you have the Valkyries, which are beautiful and young and extremely feminine. They will also slaughter vampires and collect their fangs and keep them on a necklace, kind of thing. There's like witches and demons and sirens. There's like anything you can think of as far as immortal races they have in this setting. And there's like different planes. So there's who knows what's out there, basically. She has freedom to basically write whatever she wants. So the first book in the series is called A Hunger Like No Other.
Okay.
And that opens with Lachlan McCreeve. So the McCreeves are the big family of Lycae, the werewolves. And I believe...
Wait, the Lachlan is from the Scottish werewolf clan? No
Lachlan McCreeve is, I believe, the head of... Possibly the head... I think he's the head of the Lycae clan.
Okay.
And it opens with him chained up in the catacombs under Paris. And he's been captured by vampires, like, centuries ago.
Okay.
And they have him magically restrained, and he keeps burning alive over and over and over again, because he's immortal. They can't die by regular fire. They can die by magical fire, but not by regular fire. So he's been burning alive over and over and over again for centuries, stuck in the dark. And, like, he suddenly catches the scent of his female on the wind.
Okay.
So with a lot of the races in this series...
They imprint?
They kind of imprint, yeah.
Okay.
They each have their fated mates, as they're called.
So fans of popular series Twilight should know what this means, as Jacob imprinted on a baby.
On a baby,
you may
which
remember.
is way weird. So the werewolves, like, they know on sight or scent when they see their mate, and that person instantly becomes like their big focus. Like, one of the things in the lore is you never get between a Lycae and his mate.
Okay.
Because just don't do it. And so he scents his mate somewhere up above him, and in order to break out of the chains, because he like loses his mind, he needs to get out, he needs to find her, needs to go now. He chews off his own leg and breaks out of the catacombs.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate.
Yeah, just takes off onto the streets of Paris with a bloody stump.
Does the stump heal?
Yes, they regenerate.
I was going to say, because if you're immortal and you can lose limbs, then I have a feeling immortality would actually, in the end, kind of suck.
No, they regenerate. The only way to kill them is to cut off their heads, burn them with magical fire, stuff like that. They will regenerate limbs. They regenerate all kinds of injuries, except for stuff that they received before they froze in their state. So if, like, they're 15 and they get a huge scar across their face, they'll have that scar forever, kind of thing. So he breaks out of the catacombs and he finds this lady named Emma. And Emma she's half Valkyrie, half vampire. And there's actually a lot of, like, this weird mixed race immortal stuff going on.
Of course, yeah.
And first off, Lachlan is, like, disgusted because vampires are his mortal enemies because they locked him underground for hundreds of years and were burning him. But this is his female, so there's, like, a huge conflicted battle with him about, like, she's the best person in the world, but also she's a blood drinker. But I love her so much, but she's a vampire.
Okay. It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, with his own internal monologue. She does not like him. He's definitely like a misogynistic character, because he's hundreds of years old and he hasn't been in modern society, so he has a very, I guess, historically accurate feeling towards women, and she should listen to him, she should do this, she should do that, and she's very much like, that's not how this is anymore, you can't tell me what to do.
Okay.
I find that this book, at least from what I remember, is really focused on their relationship, and it hasn't like built up the plot points that kind of come into play in the later books.
So what happens in the book other than just he escapes and then they're kind of in love, not in love? Like, is there a plot along with that?
There's a bit of a plot along with that. Her father is kind of like a question mark figure. He's a vampire, that's all they know, and he turns out to be like an evil vampire, and like it's been a year and a half since I read this book, so the details are kind of fuzzy, but like a huge point for this book is mostly just their relationship and how it evolves.
Okay.
The second book is called No Rest for the Wicked.
Okay.
And first off, every time I say the title, I think of that stupid song.
Yeah, of course. I thought of it instantly, and I was going to sing it, but then I didn't want to get striked with copyright.
Yeah. And that book centers around Kadarin the Cold-Hearted, who is a Valkyrie who, during a previous succession, lost two of her super close sisters.
Okay.
And with Valkyrie, if they get like super, super sad, it can kill them. They're super emotional, and she could die because she was so upset because her sisters were killed.
I'm a superpower immortal being, but if I get really ticked off, you better watch it or I'll die.
Also, their like big weakness is shiny objects and like jewelry and shit like that. It's really funny, and I like that they just have that as a weakness. They'll stab you like no problem, but if you dangle like a pendant in front of them, they have to train for hours a day to come over this need for this gold, and it's pretty good. So she shuts off her emotions basically, and she's been this way for hundreds of years, and she's known as like this super powerful vampire slayer, and she keeps like strings of vampire teeth all over her room. They say it's like meters long, stuff like that. And she goes out to kill a vampire in a mansion, and she bumps into Sebastian Roth. Sebastian is a man who was changed into a vampire by his older brothers hundreds of years ago.
Okay.
He didn't want to be changed, but there was like a war in their country, and he was killed by some enemy soldiers, and his brothers came home and found him and changed him into a vampire without like running it by him first.
Okay.
So he's pretty upset about that. So she shows up to kill him, and instead they just start flirting really hard. Like there's an instant attraction between them, and she's like, what is this? I haven't felt anything in hundreds of years. Why am I feeling things now?
Okay.
And he's a vampire, so he sees her and he instantly knows, this is my bride.
Yeah.
So with vampires, they're undead until they see their bride, and then it's called blooding. Their heart literally starts to beat again.
Okay.
And it's like they start to live again now that they've found their mate. So he like instantly wakes up when he sees her, and he's alive again. And you look like you have a question.
No, that's the kind of the plot of that Warm Bodies movie or / book.
Okay.
Where it's zombies, and if they fall in love, their heart starts to beat again, and they slowly become not zombies anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it is kind of like that then, yeah. But this would have definitely come first.
I don't know when the book for Warm Bodies came out, but the movie came out in 2010 or 2011.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So he sees her, and he's alive again. His heart's beating. He's excited. He wants her really bad because she's his mate. And she obviously hates vampires because they killed her sisters, and she's a vampire slayer, and she takes off.
Yeah.
And he instantly decides he needs to impress her, and the way to do that is there's a competition every 200 years called the Talisman's High.
Okay.
Which is like, it's described as the amazing race, but for immortals. And when somebody gets to the end and they win, they get like this super important magical item. So Kadarin, she wins basically every year. She's like the number one immortal for that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And this year the prize is a key that would let her go back in time to save her sisters who died.
Okay. So
Sebastian decides to join the Talisman's High to help her win it, basically. He proves himself to her. She'll fall in love with him. So this book actually follows her through the Talisman's High.
Okay.
And you kind of watch her try to win the competition.
Yeah.
She has a couple different rivals. There's Bowen McCreeve, who is a cousin to Lachlan, who was in the book before.
Okay.
That's something I really like about this series, is characters will keep coming back.
Okay.
So Lachlan came back in this book for a couple sentences, and characters who meet in this book will come back.
Connection between them other than just the same world? Or...
No, they're all interconnected.
Okay.
And that's what I definitely really like about it.
Yeah.
So her main rival is Bowen McCreeve, who wants the key so he can go back to time to save his mate who died hundreds of years before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the big driving plot for this one. So like the first one didn't have a huge plot, but from this point on, they all do have like an actual thing going for them.
Okay.
I don't want to actually spoil too much.
No,
so...
and we should pick it up for time-wise anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe just like a quick summary of like what the, or like the setup of the plot or what the main plot is. Like
Sure.
even if it's just a couple sentences.
All right. So the third book is Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night.
Okay.
Which follows Bowen McCreeve, who was from the last book.
Okay.
He was her main rival. And a woman named Mariketa the Awaited, who is a still mortal witch. Because they reach a certain point in their lives where they freeze in time. And she's, like, just on the cusp of turning immortal.
Okay.
So she's still vulnerable.
Yeah.
And Bowen hates witches so much. And she's a witch. And he sees her, and he's like, oh no, this is my mate. But this is also really weird because I had a mate hundreds of years ago and she died, but I'm only supposed to have one mate. And this actually runs kind of parallel to the last story. So you see them at the Talisman's High. And then they're competing against each other, Mariketa and Bowen. And he traps her in a cave, and she curses him so that he stops regenerating. And it's a lot of back and forth. You're going to get a lot of, like, he hates her, she hates him in all of these books.
I was going to say, that I've noticed a trend.
Yes, for sure.
If you can hear a noise in the background, that is the furnace kicking on our house. It is currently like minus 40 something with the wind.
Like getting close to minus 50, yeah.
Yeah, so we're cold.
The fourth book is called Dark Needs at Night's Edge.
Okay.
This one is about Naomi Laress, who is a ghost, and Conrad Roth, who is a vampire. He's related to Sebastian Roth from the second book. So he's actually a vampire who is an assassin of immortal beings, and he kills by drinking them of their blood. So he's actually, like, super crazy. He's constantly hallucinating. He's just completely insane.
Mm-hmm.
And his brothers capture him, lock him down in a mansion, and are trying to cure him of his insanity.
Okay.
And this mansion happens to belong to Naomi, who was murdered there in the 20s. So, he's the only one who can see her for the longest time.
Okay.
And he's got, like, a weird obsession with her, because he's not sure if she's real or if... he's not sure if she's real or if he's just hallucinating from memories of somebody that he's killed.
Mm-hmm.
And the next book after that is called...
What number are you on, 5?
This is number 5.
Okay.
Dark Desires After Dark.
Okay.
The names for these get kind of ridiculous.
Love it.
Like, they start normal, they get weird, and then they just turn into, like, one-word titles. So
awesome.
There's an evolution here.
Love the continuity.
So the Dark Desires After Dusk is about Cadian Woweed and Holly Ashlyn.
Okay.
Cadian is a demon. There are demons in this world.
Of course.
He's a rage demon. And he, along with his brother, Rydstrom, formed the Woweeds. Rydstrom lost his crown like 600 years ago to a evil sorcerer named Omort.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been, like, trying to get his crown back for the last 600 years.
Okay.
And they finally find a way to do this by taking a woman to this metallurgist who has made a sword that can finally kill Omort, because he's supposed to be deathless. He can't kill him.
Okay.
And this woman turns out to be Cadian's mate, because of course she does. And Holly is the woman. She is what's considered a vessel, and every accession, one vessel is born, and this vessel is, like, super fertile and she gives birth to some breed of immortal during the accession who either becomes an ultimate warrior for good or for evil. So the meddler just wants her because he wants to have an evil baby. So this kind of follows Cadion and Holly, because Cadion has to deliver Holly to his contact.
Okay.
And he doesn't want to do it because she's his mate, and they only get one, and he doesn't want to give her up. But he's also been trying to get this crown back for hundreds of years, and he can't, like, betray his brother.
Oh, okay.
I really like Holly, because she starts off thinking she's mortal. It turns out she's part Valkyrie. But she's also got, like, severe OCD, and it comes into play a lot through the book. And Cadion is, like, super chill, super messy, doesn't give a shit about anything, and it drives her absolutely nuts. And I love it. That's one of my favorite dynamics, for sure. And then the last of the 6 is called Kiss of a Demon King.
Okay.
This is about Rydstrom, who is Cadion's brother.
Okay.
During the events of the last book, Rydstrom actually gets kidnapped near the beginning, and these 2 books kind of run parallel to each other. One follows Cadion and Holly, and the other one follows Rydstrom, who got kidnapped by an evil sorceress named Sabine.
Okay.
And Sabine needs to have Rydstrom's baby to fulfill a prophecy to unlock a well of, like, immense power. And Sabine is also the sister of the man who stole his crown to begin with.
Yeah.
And she's, like, got a really bad reputation because he's a super evil sorceress. So that's the general plot to that, is he gets kidnapped by an evil lady, and then he's got to try to break out of her.
Probably by seducing her.
She's
Do
trying
they
to
fall in love?
seduce him the entire time because she wants to have his baby.
Of course.
She's also his mate. That's a recurring theme. She's his mate. So Sabine is she is Rydstrom's mate.
Okay.
So he wants her really bad because she's his female, but he can't have her because she's evil, and she's trying to seduce him because she wants to have his baby. And Rydstrom puts honor before everything else, and he never tells a lie. He never betrays anybody. So it's a huge emotional conflict with him. So.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm kind of curious. What's the, like... So it's obviously, like, a dark fantasy or, like, horror fantasy or whatever you want to call it. What's the time period of this? Like,
modern.
Is this...
It's
modern?
It's modern setting, yeah.
So are there, like, people around?
Yeah.
Or, like, do they drive cars
Yes.
and stuff?
A big thing in the first book is because Lachlan has been underground for 300 years, he doesn't know how to drive a car. But he buys one anyways and tries to drive it on the road, and he's just like, I could do this. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. So it's modern setting. There's phones, there's movies, there's all kinds of stuff. The Valkyrie really like video games, and they've talked about playing like Wii and stuff like that all the time. So,
Of course.
Yeah. Well, this is also set in like the early. I guess they were written in the early aughts.
Yeah.
So the Wii was more relevant back then.
So, weird period piece.
Yeah.
Where the Switch is out, but they're currently playing the Wii.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, it's like an overload of stuff. It's interesting to me that it's not like the same, like, that it's not following like a same group of characters, or that it's not like...
It kind of is.
Yeah.
This is like, these are characters on the good side of the story.
Okay.
So, like, there's the good side, the bad side. And, like, the ringmaster for all of this is actually one of my favorite characters. Her name is Nyx, the Ever-Knowing. She's, the proto-Valkyrie, and she's, like, 3,000 years old. And
Same.
she can see the future, and she can see, like, everything that's going on. She's ever-knowing. So, she's, like, pulling all these different strings to get things to line up properly for her side of the war.
Yeah.
So she's, like, putting small things into motion that will get this person to meet his mate. We'll get this person over here to do something that harms the other side. So she kind of pops in and out of all of the books, and it's really cool.
Okay, very cool. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Questions. Do you like what's your favorite of the book so far?
My favorite of the books so far is probably Wicked Deeds on a Winter's Night.
Which number is that?
That's
4?
number 3.
Number 3.
That's the one with Bowen McCreeve and Mary Keta the Awaited.
Okay. is there, if somebody was interested in like picking up this series, is there a place you'd recommend them start, like very beginning or?
I would say any of the first 3 or 4 books
Okay.
would be fine for picking up to get started. But after that point, like they start to become more intertwined with each other.
Oh, I
There's
see,
more
okay.
recurring characters. You're gonna lose out on a lot of like, oh, this person was in this book, that person was in that book, and
Yeah.
how they're related to each other. So the first couple books would be fine.
Okay. All right. So finally, would you recommend this to somebody? Why or why not?
I would definitely recommend it.
Okay.
Especially if you like romance books.
I was gonna
guess.
say, is there like a target audience? Like, would you recommend
Definitely
this to certain
romance.
people? Okay.
Definitely if you like a fan of romance books, give them a read. If you like supernatural, stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's some action. There's some.
Oh my gosh!
politics
I
stuff.
can't believe I didn't ask this earlier. Where would you rank this as opposed to Twilight, the #1 supernatural romance book?
The opposite end of the scale.
Ooh, like on the good side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Wait, but Twilight's already the pinnacle.
No.
We will talk about Twilight at a later date.
Yes.
Because there's so much to say about that
Oh,
lovely
there's
book.
a lot to say about that one.
Also, I've heard The Host. I've heard there's a lot of
I
interesting
tried
stuff
to read
unpack in
that
The
one.
Host.
I tried to read it when I was in high school, and I gave up like halfway through it.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Any like final thoughts on this? The first part of this series.
So I just went over like everything super quick because we only have half an hour, and that's a lot of time to cram in 6 books and extra stuff. But there's actually a podcast called Fated Mates, which is.
Are you recommending other podcasts on our podcast?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
They do a book by book analysis of the series, so they have more information than I could possibly give. And it's hosted by Sarah McLean and Jen Reads Romance. Sarah McLean is actually an author that I have a whole bunch of her books on my bookshelf. I love her a lot. And Jen Reads Romance. This is like book reviews and articles and stuff on other websites. So
I guess free shout out here to Fated Mates.
Yeah. If it's something you're interested in, check that out because they'll talk about it more in depth than I can.
Very cool. All right. Well, what are you? So you finished book 6. What are you reading now?
I have not started anything because I finished book 6 last night.
Oh. Okay.
And I haven't had a chance to start anything else yet.
Ah, I see.
What are you reading?
I'm reading a book, a lovely little book called The Indifferent Stars Above.
Oh, I think we mentioned that one last time.
We may have. I think I started reading it last week.
Mm-hmm.
By Daniel James Brown. Oh yeah, because we were looking up his name. I mean, we knew his name. It just took us a while to remember it. But it's the story of the Donner Party,
yes.
And it's well done so far. I'm just getting up to the part where things turn really bad for the Donner Party. It is winter. They're stranded in the mountains.
Unfortunate circumstances.
Nobody has eaten anybody else yet, but
I think that comes a little bit later.
Yeah, if you know the history of the Donner Party, you know how it ends. But I'm excited nonetheless. Actually, I had a weird dream the other night where someone was trying to force me to eat human meat, and all I could think was like, maybe I'm reading this book too much. Like it's got that idea stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But I didn't eat the meat in my dream,
oh,
so I can't
good.
tell you if it's good or not.
I hear it tastes like.
I've heard pork.
Yeah, like pork. Don't do it though.
Yeah. So any other closing? Oh wait, we should do our shout outs to our stuff.
Yeah,
plugs.
Our Twitter, LiteraryAFPod on Twitter.
Yep.
And our Gmail, literaryafpod@gmail.com.
Yep, that is LITER whatever at gmail.com. I just thought that would be a funny joke. I actually do know how to spell words. But yeah, you can send us an email, send us a tweet about how cool we are, or
slide
about
into
how
the
handsome
DMs.
you think I sound. Any of those two topics are fine. Any other topics, no thank you. No, if you have books you want to recommend, if you have
questions.
Yeah, questions. We might do a question episode at one point.
Yep.
If you have just other thoughts or comments, I guess hit us up.
Yeah.
So thanks
That's
for
about it,
tuning in, and we'll see you on the flip flop.